Fountas and Pinnell reading program uses assessment, intervention, and leveled reading books and attempts to best gauge where students are at in their reading development and guide them towards success and improvements. It's a guided reading program for literacy instruction that was created by Fountas and Pinnell, and was first published in guided reading in the early 1990s and has been growing and developing over the last 20-some years. I worked with FMP for a year as a reading group teacher in my local school district. FMP is great because it starts out with training and professional development of the reading group teachers, and then it moves on to assessment of the students before we even begin the groups. So I administered reading tests where students would read books out loud, and I would measure the number of mistakes they made and then assess what each mistake might imply about phonemic awareness, etc., and then ask comprehension questions to gauge the depth of their understanding of what they've just read. And that gave me a good idea of what level they might approximately be at based on the Fountas and Pinnell leveling system. After that, the students were put up into different reading groups with a reading group teacher and peers of a few peers that were at similar levels to them, and the reading groups would meet every day for 30 minutes. My reading group would look a little like this. The students would all come join me, and we would be reading a book close to their level. They would sit and read independently, and then once they were finished reading at their own pace, if they had extra time, they could go back and reread. Otherwise, they were able to join all together once everyone was finished, and we would talk through new vocab, ask comprehension questions, and often have some type of written reflection activity. And I, as the reading teacher, could continue to assess and gauge what my groups needed and where they were struggling. And then each quarter, the reading group teachers would test again and assess and adapt groups as needed to ensure students were being challenged but not being left behind. There's a few things that FMP does really great, taking into account how complex the process of learning to read is for our brains by keeping the books and discussion really short. They're taking into account research that shows that our attention spans only average about 9 minutes. By having reading groups every day for about 30 minutes, it is showing that they're taking into account the research that shows that consistent and regular practice is helpful for learning in our brains. And I think FMP does a great job at splitting up reading development into skills and stages, such as phonemic awareness, alphabetic principle, vocabulary, and fluency, to really show that there are different stages and paces that students move at. And it does a great job making sure that students aren't being left behind and that they're able to go at their own pace. Some major insights I got through working with FMP is I think this program is very effective and acknowledging the research of how complex the process learning to read is and going at the pace that the students are at. I think that it is good at figuring out what specific skills students are struggling with and what stage they are actually on. And I appreciated the regular and consistent practice that these guided reading groups provided. I logistically felt that 30 minutes wasn't always enough to allow students to go at their own pace, as some would sometimes get really distracted and would hold up the rest of the group. So it didn't always fit logistically into that window. So that's something I would like improvements on. Another improvement I would like is for more student choice in books. While there are quality books provided for those levels, and there's a variety of genres, some of the students weren't that interested in the content of the books, so giving them more choice at their levels would motivate them more in their learning. But overall, Fountas and Pinnell is a great guided reading program that really helps meet students where they're at and figure out which areas specifically they need to work on so that readers can move forward at their own pace and not get left behind. Thank you.